Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Innovate Finance, where we speak to industry leaders on financial innovation in fintech. Our podcasts are available on Spotify, Apple Music, and Google Podcasts. My name is Roberto Napolitano. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at Innovate Finance. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Tamara Kostova, CEO at Velexa, the investing platform that helps financial institutions and disruptive players capitalize on the demand for modern and embedded investing experiences. Tamara, it's a real pleasure to have you as our guest today. How are you today?
Hello, Roberto. Great speaking to you. Thank you. I have to share with you, this is my second podcast ever. So I'm truly excited about having it together with you. Thank you very much for the invitation.
It's a pleasure, and I'm sure that the podcast will be very interesting for our listeners today. So tell us more about Velexa and the idea behind it.
Velexa was born with a clear mission, and it was, and it still is, very much focusing on the democratization of the wealth management space by supporting financial health for people from all walks of life. We are a B2B wealth tech company, and we are very much focusing to help any business, any institution around the globe to embed investing services and offer them to their end consumers. So we are passionate about the fact that we should actually set up a new segment, a new category in its own, and this is investing as a service. So what we actually see is that more than 70% of people globally would like to proactively manage their finances. They would like to proactively invest, to proactively save, and they would like to have the channels to do so. So we're really dreaming about having investing and wealth management services embedded in our daily life.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tamara. And so I believe that achieving financial health is very important for Velexa. You mentioned these important stats for our listeners. So why is it so important that financial health needs to be achieved?
That's a great question. And I have to share with you is that over the last 2 years, as the CEO of Velexa, I have been going through a journey of self-discovery. And it was very much around understanding my voice and what do I stand for, because I realized is that the entire organization, my customers, the shareholders would like actually to hear that. And I am actually very clear what my mission is and what Velexa mission is. And it's very much around closing the financial literacy gap globally. 2/3 actually of people globally are rating financial health higher than their personal health, and that they experience anxiety when they have money problems. So we all know that money talk, yes, and we all say that. And I'm just wondering is why don't we actually learn or teach our children to talk about money at a very early stage of their education? So I'm really truly passionate about closing that financial gap, providing that financial health for people so they can actually make more proactive decisions and take their future in their own hands.
These are very important points. Thank you for sharing with us. Financial literacy, financial education, super important. Reaching to new audiences, younger investors, potentially female investors as well. And we know that there's been a shift in the investment landscape with retail investors now holding over 50% of global wealth. So just a question on like wealth managers, because you're working in this space, how are wealth managers adapting to this shift?
It's an interesting question. I'm an advocate for the fact that the industry has to change to basically capture the revolution that the Gen Zs of the world are driving, this new generation of investors. So there is two paradigms I wanted to share with you. The first one is that since COVID, 50% of the global wealth is in the hands of retail investors. And those investors have a totally different expectations in terms of how they consume their services. The first thing is that they are actually looking to really consume financial services in a digitalized manner. To give you an example, if you look at Southeast Asia, I believe they're actually the leader in the democratization of the investing space and the wealth management space. 60% of the new generation of investors, retail investors, are consuming the services through a fintech channel. They are not going to their local traditional bank. They don't even have the trust in the local traditional bank. So the challenge for wealth managers is actually, how do you actually build services that are suitable for this next generation of investors, and how do you gain their trust? Because the reality is that those investors are not really loyal towards the existing financial ecosystem. So this is one of the key growth agendas for Velexa as well as a company is, how do we raise awareness within the financial services and wealth management space about the customer needs of this new generation of investors? And it's very much coupled again with the financial literacy element of it. So think about it. You as a nascent investor, the services might be enabled to you through your local bank, but if you don't know how to utilize them, if you do not know how to actually really manage your money, you don't have the education to do that, you will never actually embrace this new service. So what we're trying to do is to couple the technology that is very much fed in a very personalized, very contextualized manner, together with the financial educational content, to build a very unique journey for every investor that is really tailored to their risk appetite and maturity in terms of financial education.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Tamara. So customer needs, customer experience, very important. And actually they're the center of what fintechs are delivering. So fintechs were born to provide a better customer experience and to respond to customer needs. Now you mentioned Gen Z, which is a very interesting audience for new investors, but let's also talk about female investors. So kind of closing the gender wealth gap is also important, I know, for you and your team at Velexa. So tell us more about how we can, lead to more inclusivity for female investors.
I want to start answering this question with my own personal story, and maybe just to give you a kind of a background of why I'm so passionate about talking about the gender wealth gap. So I started my career with the Reuters agency more than 2 decades ago, specifically within their capital markets unit. So I grew up actually on the trading floor of some of the largest banking institutions around Europe and the globe. And it was very interesting that as a finance banking graduate, very much focusing on the capital market space, I myself was shying away investing and trading on my own account, which is striking, yes? So spending 10 years on the trading floor is still very much conservative in terms of investing and growing my own wealth. So I started actually challenging myself. Why is that? And the reality is that the wealth management industry, the investing industry, it's really not focusing on the needs of women and trying to capture their specific requirements. To give you an example, women are very conservative, they're risk averse. What they're thinking is, how do they secure the future of the family? So the products they require are most probably not very opportunistic. They're looking for a long-term investor. They're looking to be able to build trust and relationship. And they're also shying away to have the personal contact. So for them, digitalization of the services is key and important. So the question is, how many of the existing players ultimately will push in the wealth management space, will push actually a product, a service that could capture the female investors? And to give you another statistic, which is striking, within the global investing space and on the market, there are only 25% of women investors. 25%. So there is something that we need to do as an industry to be able to capture that customer segment. And I'm always trying to sound a little bit disruptive, but if you think about it, women should be the target audience of for the customer segmentation for the wealth managers. They live longer, yes, than men. Over the last 5 years, they have been amassing wealth, and that wealth is not being invested. So the question is how do we actually support them in embracing these services, so get them into the market and help them further to close the gender wealth and pay gap as such.
Thank you, Tamara. That's a very interesting view on female investors. So you mentioned, the attitudes, also the mindset of investors, female investors, new generations. Let's talk about European investors in general and in emerging markets. We know that many investors are still, let's say, conservative, still prefer using their existing banks, with the addition of new services by, let's say, challenger banks or fintechs. What do you think is the relationship between these two players? So challenger banks, existing banks, incumbents, and then fintechs, and why this relationship, let's call it also partnership, can be crucial to leverage embedded trust?
That's a brilliant question. Thank you for that. I wanted to start with an example. I have been judging on the Global Banking Tech Awards for the last years. And I want to share with you is that this is the first year, specifically in categories such as embedded finance, best mobile initiative in the private banking space, where I see an amazing opportunities and achievements driven through the partnership of financial institutions with fintech players. This is the first time that I see an amazing progress being done specifically in the space of embedded investing and even trading. And most of those initiatives, interestingly, come from Southeast Asia. Countries like Thailand, even Malaysia, Indonesia. And it's very interesting to understand why it's that. And you mentioned, the European continent and how European actually investors are embracing services. So I wanted to give you an example. Europeans are extremely conservative. They are very conservative in terms of engaging with their banking partner locally. They are very much conservative in changing their user journeys. So they're expecting that their traditional bank will offer them an enhanced level of service, a much wider palette of investing, trading opportunities. And this hasn't been happening. The reality is that we have challengers such as Revolut that have been able to amass a large portion of European investors that are interested to use a different set of services in a very digitalized manner. So this is actually a call for action for all European financial institutions to start thinking is how do they actually tailor, enhance, upgrade, innovate their financial offerings and services to be able actually to really cater for the interest of the European end users, those end users that A, are very conservative, B, lack financial education, financial literacy as well, but on the contrary, very much eager to be able to proactively manage their finances. And to address that, financial institutions actually have a perfect partner in the face of fintech, wealth tech vendors that have been innovating, that have been driving that change, and they have a good understanding as well of what the next generation of end users' demands are. And this is what we see it's happening in Southeast Asia. This is where we see this partnership driving really success stories, and those success stories have a clear impact on the society as a whole. I can give you an example. Thailand has an amazing actually use cases where the several institutions have been targeting together with fintechs the 50% of the population that is unbanked. So now with the help of mobile devices, all those unbanked people will be able actually to have access to financial services and to the wide spectrum of financial services as such.
That's fascinating. Thank you, Tamara. I think partnership with incumbent banks, fintechs, wealth tech is a whole very fascinating sector. And that's why at Innovate Finance, we really focus on making sure that partnerships are happening, because they can be a very much success story for the fintech ecosystem as a whole. So finally, Tamara, tell us what's next for Velexa. If you have any news you'd like to share with us for the next few weeks.
I'm very grateful actually to the Innovate Finance team for promoting the wider adoption of investing services in the UK and Europe. So there is an amazing panel session organized with the House of Lords on November 15th, specifically to talk about online trading and what are the benefits from online trading platforms and what they bring to the society, the economy, and the consumers. So I'm excited being part of that roundtable, because what we need to do is really promote at all levels within the financial services space, within the regulators, the fact that we have to increase the level of financial education and how online investing trading platforms can support that journey. So thank you very much for this opportunity as well.
Oh, that's a pleasure, Tamara, and we look forward to seeing you there on the 15th of November. So that's exciting. I guess that's all for this episode today. So I would like to thank you, Tamara, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. The podcasts are available also on our website, innovatefinance.com, if you like to hear more about fintech and financial innovation. Thanks again, Tamara Kostova, CEO at Velexa, and thank you all for listening. And bye for now.